The air inside the lawyer's office was dry and perfumed with expensive wood polish and old secrets. My mother adjusted her pearl necklace with the same smug little twitch she always had when she knew something I didn't. My father sat next to her, legs crossed, lips thin as paper. They didn't say a word to me, didn't even look at me. Meanwhile, my sister Amanda was glowing like a chandelier in a silk cream blouse and heels too high for anyone not on a runway. Her nails were painted the color of rose gold, just like the Tesla she had posted all over Instagram last week with the caption, "A gift to myself because I deserve the world." Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. I, on the other hand, wore a blazer from Goodwill and boots with a crack down the side. My name's Kayla, and this wasn't the first time I walked into a room where my family made me feel like I didn't belong, but it was the first time I had to do it for a will reading. My parents always favored Amanda. She was the miracle baby, the one who arrived after 2 miscarriages and got handed the world. I was the accident, born 2 years later and barely mentioned in the family scrapbook. When Amanda crashed Dad's Mercedes at 16, she got a new BMW. When I got straight A's and worked 2 jobs in high school to save for college, I got a, "You think you're better than us?" Still, when our wealthy great-uncle Martin died and left behind an estate worth over $20 million, I showed up like everyone else. I thought, maybe, just maybe, being his favorite chess partner meant something. The lawyer, Mr. Preston, cleared his throat and opened the folder. "Mr. Martin Carlton left a written will to be executed in front of the immediate family," he announced. Amanda giggled under her breath and leaned into my mother. "I already know what it says," she whispered, not so quietly. Mr. Preston began. "To Amanda Carlton, my precious niece, I leave the Carlton Villa in Napa Valley, valued at approximately $4.2 million, as well as the family trust portfolio worth another $3.8 million. Amanda gasped theatrically and clutched her chest like she just won a pageant. "Oh my God, I told you," she said. My mother teared up. My father nodded proudly. "That's our girl," he said. I looked down at my hands, trying to swallow the burn rising in my throat. No mention of me yet. I wasn't surprised, but it still stung like alcohol in a fresh cut. Mr. Preston turned the page and paused. "To Kayla Carlton." He glanced at me. I straightened. My heart started thudding. "I leave a pair of wool socks. They kept my feet warm during chemo. They might keep yours warm, too." There was a silence so loud it rang in my ears. Amanda burst out laughing. "Wool socks? Are you serious? That's what she gets?" My mother didn't hide her smirk. She should be grateful he even remembered her. "Honestly, I thought he'd leave her nothing," my father added. "Still too much if you ask me." My hands went cold. I could feel every nerve in my face pulsing. But I didn't say a word. I stood up, picked up the small box on the table labeled Kayla, and walked out of the room. No one followed me. Of course they didn't. But someone was waiting. As I walked into the corridor, a hand tapped my shoulder. I turned and saw Grandpa William, Martin's older brother. He wasn't supposed to be at the reading. He wasn't even invited. The family had written him off years ago for being too unpredictable. He looked me in the eye and said nothing. Just handed me a sealed envelope and said, "Don't open this here. Go somewhere quiet. And when you do, remember, don't let them see your power yet." Then he left. And I stood there holding my box of socks in one hand and the envelope that would change everything in the other. I sat alone at a dusty bus stop a block away from the law office, the envelope burning a hole in my coat pocket like a secret too heavy to carry. The sky was gray, the air still. My hands trembled. Not because of the cold, but because of the sound of Amanda's laughter still echoing in my ears. A pair of socks. They gave Amanda a villa and a fortune, and gave me insulation. But that envelope Grandpa gave me, it held something else. I pulled it out, heart racing, and carefully broke the red wax seal. Inside was a single sheet of thick ivory paper, handwritten. "To my granddaughter Kayla, if you're reading this, it means I've left the circus of the living." I watched you show up to family dinners with bruises from double shifts, laughed alone at your scholarship speech online, and cried the night you left home at 17 with only a backpack and a dream no one ever supported. You were never invisible to me. Flip this letter over. I turned it over. Go to 1440 Ashwood Lane. Knock 3 times. Tell the man inside. The pawn made it to the 8th square. Everything after that is yours. Love, Grandpa William. I froze. That was our chess phrase, when a pawn crosses the board and becomes a queen. I whispered it to myself. The pawn made it to the 8th square. Ashwood Lane wasn't far. I'd walked past it 100 times growing up, assuming it was just another gated estate. My parents told me it was abandoned. Apparently, they lied. I took a cab, still clutching the envelope. The iron gate was closed, but not locked. I walked up a winding gravel path and found an old man pruning roses by a wooden door. Excuse me, I'm supposed to tell you. The pawn made it to the 8th square? I said, uncertain. He looked up, blinked, and then smiled. Come in, Miss Carlton. He opened the door and let me into a marble-floored foyer bigger than my entire apartment. Crystal chandeliers, velvet curtains, a glass case with autographed chess memorabilia lined the hallway. Your grandfather wanted everything set up before the will, he said. He never trusted your parents. Said he didn't want them touching a single cent meant for you. He handed me a folder. Inside, property deeds, bank account details, and a letter from the bank confirming a wire transfer. $13.2 million. Held in a trust, under my name, accessible only by me. Grandpa had moved it long before his passing, kept it hidden so my parents couldn't contest it. I couldn't breathe. You also own this house, the man said, and the one next door and the art collection. Mr. William wanted you to have it all. He said if anyone questioned it to just say, I interrupted him, whispering, he told me to say shut up. The man laughed. Exactly. Tears blurred my vision. I wasn't broke. I wasn't the forgotten daughter. I was the one he believed in all along, the one who rose quietly while they all mocked my fall. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do next. The next week, my sister threw a party at the Napa villa she inherited. She posted about it endlessly. My parents posed in front of the wine cellar like they were royalty. So I called the press. Not for attention, but for leverage. I had footage, emails, documents, years of evidence of how my parents siphoned funds from my college savings, how they doctored signatures to make Amanda look like the sole heir to several smaller inheritances. Grandpa had collected it all and left it in a drive inside the mansion. And I had copies. Within days, the story broke. Socialite accused of financial fraud and family scandal. But I wasn't done. I sent Amanda a package. Inside it, a pair of wool socks and a handwritten note. They kept Grandpa warm. Maybe they'll warm your frozen reputation too. Yours, Kayla. Then I sent a legal notice. The villa was built partially on land Grandpa had never legally transferred. The portion she inherited, nullified. And the land? Mine now. I had one more move left. The day of Amanda's wine retreat was supposed to be exclusive, a guest list of influencers, investors, and family friends. It was held at the same villa she'd once flaunted in front of me, the one our parents helped decorate for her achievement lifestyle. But by then, the walls were already shaking. She didn't know the land under her designer heels was no longer hers. She didn't know half the people sipping rosé in her courtyard were journalists. And she certainly didn't know I was watching everything from the balcony of the cottage next door, the one Grandpa had also given me, the one that overlooked hers. By the time the second course was served, the first news alert went live. Hair fraud, inheritance under investigation, $8 million may be illegitimate. Amanda's champagne flute slipped from her hand. My mother froze mid-bite. My father stood up and barked something to my sister in a low tone, but it was already too late. Guests began checking their phones. Another alert popped up. Alleged parental theft of trust fund, documented investigation tied to suspicious power of attorney. The storm I'd held in for years finally arrived. Amanda rushed inside, dragging our mother with her. Dad followed like a bulldog with a broken leash. I watched through the open French doors as Amanda threw a tantrum, her voice shrill, tears streaking down her powdered face. "I told you to make it look clean, Mom. You said Kayla's stuff was erased." Mom snapped back. "We gave you everything. Don't throw it back in our face just because your perfect sister played the long game." "Don't say my name like that," I whispered to myself. But they weren't done. Dad banged his hand on the kitchen island. She's always been a parasite, even when she was 5. Just took and took and took. "No," I said, stepping through the gate and walking across the yard. I wanted them to see me. To feel me. My heels clicked against the marble as I entered. The room went silent. Amanda's eyes widened. You set this up?" I smiled. "No, Amanda. Grandpa did. I just turned the volume up." Dad's face flushed. "You think you're clever, don't you? Just because you got some pity money?" I pulled out my phone, pressed play. "You really think Kayla deserves that scholarship? She's average. If we empty her college fund now, she'll have to move back eventually. Amanda's our future. Kayla? She'll be lucky to marry a bus driver." It was them, years ago, their voices, recorded during a dinner I wasn't invited to, but Grandpa was. He'd kept the recordings safe. The reporters outside had already received the files. I dropped the phone on the kitchen counter. "I'm not average, I'm not invisible, and I'm definitely not here for revenge," I said coolly. I turned to Amanda. "You called me your shadow, but a shadow disappears in the dark. I don't." I faced my mother. "You told me once I was born tired, that I was weak because I didn't cry loud enough as a baby." Then I met my father's stare. "You all tried to mute me, but you forgot. When you strip someone of everything, all they have left is the truth." I walked out as chaos erupted behind me. Amanda screaming, Dad slamming drawers, Mom begging me to stop the articles. I didn't turn around. A week later, they were slapped with lawsuits from Grandpa's estate attorney for breach of fiduciary duty, tax fraud, and inheritance tampering. The socks they gifted me? Still in their original box now on display in my home office as a personal trophy. But that's not the real victory. The real victory? The college I'd once dreamed of attending, the one my parents never let me apply to, called me. They offered me an honorary position on the board. Grandpa had donated in my name. He never needed to say much. That was his way. But when he looked me in the eye during that final visit before his passing, he said something I never forgot. "Queens don't yell, Kayla, they just move." And I did. Quietly. Powerfully. Checkmate. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching